Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
He haven't got it! He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly, Miller's still such up. He's not a second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's gonna do it! Big Barry!
Yeah, hello everybody, good to be here. Yeah, especially with the fact you've got the British weather into the mix, James. I'm a big fan of Donington, don't know about yourself. It's a classic racetrack. A lot of grass either side as well, so if you're going to put your tyre off the track, then you're potentially returning to a normal, and in these tricky conditions, we might see a few cars pirouetting out on the track today. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this round, James. there might be a technical issue on my side. Let me just take a look and see what's happening there. We had a bit of a technical issue before we went broadcasting today, so it might be that something's gone out of whack, but I'll take a look whilst we get James back. Bear with us just one moment, everybody. Hopefully that'll be James back now. Hello, James.
Right. Hello. That's all right. No worries. Hopefully you can hear me now as well. Compounds, you can see it here for the Ferrari, the McLaren, the Mercedes, Nissan, Panos, Porsche, and the Toyota. They are all got softs, hards and wet. So that's the LMGT1, LMGT1 AMs. For the GT2s, it's intermediates, wet, softs and hards. And it looks like they are going to need them. Whether or not they're going to be able to go wets and whether or not the LMGT2s are going to go intermediates, it's going to be an interesting one. Let's have a look at the challenges. So let's see what happens. Brutal double voice echo, says Mr. Reese. The challenges is fast versus nimble cars. Now that is obviously with the mix of the multi-class, okay? Now, but there is an issue with a car. I will tell you about it a little bit later on. Tyre management is going to be a big one. And I do love the one at the bottom that says British weather. Well, I'm not going to lie. Guess what it's doing today? It is raining, so we've got to love the British weather. Let's move in to the up-to-date current score situation on the doors. We'll bring you the scores before we go in. We're starting with the LMGT1s. Magnus Dahlgren is currently your leader on 51 points, is Magnus. Didn't have a good one last time out at Suzuka for the 400 kilometres there as well. Only scored 1 point. Dan Kirby did wrap up another points win. That was 3 in a row for Suzuka for Dan Kirby, and he's took his tally to 46, so the gap is now only 5 points. 4 wins there for Kirby. Then we've got Wouter de Bruin on 31, Ethan Funk on 28, and Timon Suvic on 18. And in the top 10, we've got John Uyan, Johnny Gutierrez, Francesco Concas, and Brian Hall, Felipe Enrique, Alex Gierik, Jason White, and Luciano Ocaso, Gilles Lalonde, Alexander Schultz, and Joachim Coudray, 16th, Norm Graff, Victor Geneva, Adrian Rice, Risto Corpi, Brandon Gann, Alec King, and Tom Lane. In the teams, it's CMS Pro, of course, that team of Kirby and Uyan, with ME Racing, Depth Racing, and Schultz Racing after. Let's have a look at the GT AMs here. The LMGT1 AMs. And there we go. You got Becky Ely out in front on 56.5 there with 5 wins under our belt. Wayne Hutchinson in second for the Mercedes-Benz CLK LM on 41 with 1 win. George Angelidis with 1 win. And Barry Dimarzo in the Ferrari 333 have also got a win. Stephen Miller on 17. And you've got Oliver Day, Derek Chen, Eric Monet, Tom Mountjoy, Gwillembank, Mike Olsen, Gilles Villeneuve, Carl Strauhill, Tony Boynton, and Graham Duncombe in the teams. Movo Scudiera Cavelli out in front with Golf Racing. So the team of Becky Ely and Gilles Villeneuve are going to have to put some nice little string of points together over the next few rounds to try and catch the Momo boys. Let's see what can happen. In the LMGT2s, we'll bring you up that one. And Ross Smith out in front by 8 points with 2 wins with JT Tammy. In that Mustang, of course, on 40 points with 3 wins. Matthew Overton and Dave Coors in the Chrysler Vipers at 29 out on 29 and 24th on 24. They're 3rd and 4th respectively. Ben Borman, Joe Miller, Jeffrey Elis, Vasilis Katarinakis, and Tim Vandenberg. Then you got the rookie monsters out in front with Dark Thunder Racing in second. In the LMGT2 AMs, let's bring you up on that one. It is Peter Meyer in that Chrysler GTS Viper out in front with 6 wins and 60 points. He is pretty much a shoo-in at the moment for that championship. Filippo Marazzi in second place, Maximilian Petrovsky, Matthew Sibione, Eugene Mazur, Josh McGlinski, Paolo Tempera and Alex Hanglin, with obviously Rook Porsche the only team in this one, so no standings for them. But it's been an interesting fight. As you can see, some great little battles on developing at the moment in that LMGT series with the ones and the twos, of course. So let's see now as we get back to track action here as well. We've given you a rundown of everything, and now we are looking at the famous Donington Park. Well, Paul, Donington Park full circuit in the rain. Different challenges altogether there, mate.
Yeah, just a little bit, I'd say. I was talking to Ross Smith before we went live, and he was talking to me about, you know, having to feather the throttle on a lot of these cars, and we've seen these cars do pirouettes at the best of time, haven't we? Let alone in these tricky conditions, as you say, with the typical British weather.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the one thing. It's going to be interesting as well with them LMGTs just allowing wet tyres and the GT2s on intermediates. So if we do start getting that dry line, and to be honest, I don't think we are. I don't believe we are going to get that dry line. I think it's just going to be rain for the whole entire 250 kilometres. I've got to be honest, I don't think, Paul, that there's not going to be a dry line today. I'm just going to trust the fact it's going to rain and rain. So we'll keep an eye on that, but it's going to be very tough. The likes of Carrera curves, the likes of the old hairpin, you know, you can wash out of the old hairpin as easy as anything here as well, when if you take it too tight, too fast, well, that gravel trap's going to be waiting for them, Paul. You know, it's going to be tricky at the best of times. It's going to be even trickier in the rain. Where do we think, with a mixture of obviously the GT1s and GT2s, where would be a good opportunity? Because traffic management is going to be vital here as well.
Yeah, it sure is. I think that's a really good point. I mean, you've got the heavy braking zone here into the chicane, but it's quite tight to make that, as we watch Peter here. But then into the hairpin at the right, coming in, I always find that there's a couple of different lines you can take. You can try and make the entry tighter and your exit wider, or you come in like at a wider angle and then try and undercut, but then you've got the left-hander back onto the pit straight. So you kind of actually want to do a bit of a switcheroo and then try and be on the inside there as well. But it's like a lot of British tracks, James. They're not very wide, so it's going to take a little bit of both drivers really sort of playing the game and giving each other the space needed.
Yeah, exactly. Mr. Resale, I looked up the weather report. It was rain all week. Well, that doesn't bode well, unfortunately, for rain all week, but it is unfortunate that, I'm not going to lie here, guys, right? Feel for us British people, right? We live here. You know, the most use we get in the winter for our shoes is a pair of wellies. You know, we don't get much sun during these winter months, so unfortunately these guys don't, you know, deserve blinding sun conditions when we're coming towards the end of September and it's rain. You know, that's what we get here in the UK, Paul. I think people, you know, seems to underestimate what the weather is like in the UK.
Yeah, we talk a lot about the weather here, don't we? It's a topic that we often discuss in the UK. It's because it's always raining, and it will always do so, and continue to do so as well, James. So yeah, we don't get a lot of sunshine, so we try and take it when we can get it.
Yeah, exactly. That's why even when it's only 25 degrees, we're in the beach in a pair of skinkies, because I'm not going to lie, we don't get it there as well. So we make the most of it, I'm not going to lie. But then again, we did have a random heat wave at the beginning of September. That was a little bit bizarre.
That was a little bit unusual, wasn't it? A bit of an Indian summer, as they call it.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird. I've got to be honest, which way round that one. Unfortunately, we did get that right. We have got 13 minutes of qualifying remaining. Now, we've only got 2.5 minutes left for the LMGT2s, okay? So 2.5 minutes left for the likes of Ross Smith, Peter Meyer, Kevin Torrance is here also in the Mustang as well. Dave Core, Ross Smith, Matthew Overton. So let's see what happens here. Now, one of the things we were going to tell you about the LMGT1s, Dan Kirby and John Uyan. Now, normally we see them motoring away in the Panos pool, but there's been an invisible wall situation going on at Donny in that car.
Yeah, apparently it's actually causing the car to be destroyed. We're being informed by the broadcast. So quite rightly, they've had to make a switch in car. But I mean, you were asking, well, you know, would they be punished for that? But I mean, I was like, well, that's a bit unfair because it's not their fault that the car's going to disintegrate.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It was just randomly. We heard it from Ross, who just says, basically, the car just blows up. And we're like, why? They're like, don't know. We don't know. It gets to a point on the track, turns right and says it's had enough and just explodes. So, you know, they've had to change cars there as well. So now they're in the Nissan R390 GT1. As we said, they're not going to be punished. I think that's the right thing to do, to be honest, Paul. It would be a little bit harsh if they gave them a punishment for changing cars.
Yeah, for sure. It would, as we watch Ross and Ross go up to P2. Peter's still up into P1, so Ross will be happy with that time. I think I got the impression he felt like he was struggling a little bit in the Viper.
Yeah, he did say he was struggling as well, wasn't he? It's in that Marcos LM600, so he did say he was struggling a little bit. It looks like Peter Meyer could be on for a good lap here. He's purple in sector 1 at the moment. So let's see how Peter Meyer gets on, where he's going to lose time. I've got a funny feeling he might be quicker at the moment as well. He looks like he's going a little bit quicker, but let's see what happens with Peter Meyer and whether or not he can hold it there. As you can see, that is a Viper going off on the final. I believe that's round Goddard's, that Viper in the bottom right corner.
Overton, yeah.
Yeah, he got a very sideways way of looking at the circuit then, Paul. I'm probably guessing.
Yeah, he did. But he pretty much he's closing the gap on the top two, a 141.98 even. So it's close. It's close at the top there at the moment. And when Matthew joined the server during the practice session, he immediately was amongst it all. So he's clearly got some pace. And again, he's going a little bit sideways. You might want to we'll take a little bit closer look at how he's throwing this car around.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of Vin Diesel in Fast and Furious. You know, he's got the full slides on with it as well. And I think probably, to be fair for him, that's probably the quickest way in that Viper to get round this circuit. You know, he seems to be able to get it to go round quite swiftly. As you can see, once again, that back end looks like a little bit like BrianB on ice at the moment, or me trying to walk in high hills. One of the two, Paul. I'm not quite sure which one probably is a better picture.
Well, yeah, I was about to say is the high hills with you, maybe. But yeah, Peter's just got even faster that time around. So he's opened up the gap to around about 4 tenths between him and Ross, and Ross is back out again, as you can see right now.
Yeah, well, he hasn't got long. If he's crossed over, he's going to have to make sure he's not on track at the time, because we're in that last 10 minutes. Some of the faster drivers out are on track. Risto Corpi in the Ferrari 333, Dan Kirby in the R390. And then we've got Dahlgren in the GT1, Suvik in the GT1s. We've got the likes of Becky Ely, Wayne Hutchinson, Barry Dimarzo. Don't forget, Becky Ely is literally ahead in the championship. She's ahead currently at the moment for Becky Ely, so she's doing an absolutely stellar job, up 15.5 points here as well. So for Becky Ely, great job so far here leading this championship. She currently has got 5 wins, I believe, 5 wins to her name. So pretty much a shoo-in for the championship there, Paul. I think that's probably Becky Ely's to lose in that McLaren F1.
Yeah, I think you're right. Again, though, I mean, I must admit, I was watching a few drivers, and Becky stood out as somebody that is clearly struggling a little bit in these conditions. It's not to say others aren't, but I saw a couple of clips, and she also on the I don't know if she was practicing pit entry, but I'm telling you now, it didn't go very well as we see her riding the curbs and again, you know, rather aggressively just sort of trying to... The car actually quite nicely sort of turned in. The rear didn't really know what it was doing. It kind of just sort of said, oh, okay, we're going this way then. All right, off we go. So, but yeah, this driving style, I don't really know how these tyres are going to last through this, James. I don't really have much experience commentating on wet races in R-Factor 2. So it'll be interesting to see whether these driving styles, because these cars are twitchy, they are kind of power sliding through some of the corners, whether that's going to be good for the tyre life.
Well, normally we would say no, right? I think, to be honest, the only part that I could probably see would be an issue with the tyres. They are obviously going to disintegrate, right? We're not going to sit here and say they are, you know, immortal, should we say. They are going to disintegrate. I think the rate of disintegration would be depending on how much they actually are using the water as well, especially if we start getting a dry line. I don't think we're going to, I've got to be honest, I don't think we are. But I wouldn't be surprised if they could get a good few laps out of these cars. There's nothing saying that they can't hold them till the pit stops and see how they get on. I don't think it's going to really drop off that much here. But maybe I'm wrong, as we pay Risto Corby getting a big old slide on there as well, coming out the final corner.
Yeah, Daniel Kirby setting the fastest. Oh, sorry, Risto Corby's just literally set the fastest 1:29.5 as we watched him there with Daniel Kirby currently taking P2. Barry Dimarzo that's popped into P3. That's nicely done in the GT1 AM.
Yeah.
But what would you do? Would you just put a load of fuel in and just keep doing laps, or would you do what Risto Corby's just done, go and get some fresh rubber and refuel, and out you go again?
I would keep going, and the only way I would see that would be just to see how far I could push the tyres before I start losing it. Look, you're not going to get loads of laps in, right? You're doing a 1:30, you've got nearly 6 minutes, so hindsight in maths says you're going to probably get about 6 or 7 laps in throughout the whole 10 minutes, maybe 8 to 9, depending on how they go and depending on what happens. But I think, seriously, I would consider whacking in fuel, seeing how we get on, and seeing how far I can go before we end up losing that slight little top edge grip, that slight little bit of where my biting point will be. Where's going to be the best point? Is it going to be lap 2, lap 3 once they start coming in? Is it going to be later on, lap 5, lap 6? And see where we go with that one as well. Never ending winkle face. It's raining, obviously, but wow, he's put. So, you know, there we go. So never ending winkle face there as well. And Mr. Reese, I suppose when you're in a bad spot like traffic, you could try and pit and get a new rubber and potentially a better position. Maybe that's a way around it as well, Paul. Maybe pit stop strategy, undercuts, overcuts, might work as well.
Yeah, it might well do, but the challenge is if you're quite a bit of time ahead of the slower cars, if you pit, then you could end up amongst them. So you need to be able to, race and judge it as well as possible, really, aren't you? Because you need to have a track map up and be able to make that judgment call yourself, or maybe have some live timing on it and just try do the maths in your head whilst you're trying to find your braking point.
Yeah, that would that's normally difficult for us up in the booth here, and we are only talking and doing maths at the same time. I can't imagine what's it like driving Donington in the rain with a very powerful car, trying to avoid slower cars, and then picking on the subject of maths while you're in the car, Paul. I couldn't think of anything worse, to be honest.
Yeah, neither can I, to be honest with you. How do you? Yeah, I mean, look, it could work. I mean, it could work, couldn't it? I mean, it's.
Well, I don't know. Bet your engineers on it. That's what I would say. Now, one of the interesting things I think we're looking at the moment, Dan Kirby's not dominating, right? He's not out in front. He's not pulling away. He's not doing what Dan Kirby-esque things would be doing. Now, obviously, he's in a new car. We can see that there as well. You know, the man himself has got 4 wins on the board already this season. 3 in a row. He's going for 4 in a row. Dahlgren got 3 in Silverstone, Hockenheim and Le Mans. But Kirby got 4 there, starting off with Oschersleben and then going Dijon, Hungaroring and Suzuka. For Dan Kirby, okay, so we can forgive him probably for this one here, Paul, with the fact that obviously he's in a new car, he's in that Nissan R390, he's not in that Panos that we've seen. You know, for him, it's going to be a tough day at the races. I think for Kirby and Dahlgren, just trying to consolidate their positions maybe for this one.
Yeah, maybe. It's sorry, I'm just trying to sort out a technical issue on my end, so I wasn't really paying attention to the questions.
You carry on and I'll waffle away, mate. You're all right. As we're into the last 2.5 minutes of quali here, we've got Risto Corpi for the Ferrari 333 SP out in front on 129.5. Then you got Dan Kirby in second, Brian Hall in third, Ethan Funk and Gilles Lalonde round out the top 5 with John Uyan in 8th. Uyan seems to be getting a little bit more of a struggle in that car than Dan Kirby is for that Nissan R390. Timon Suvic behind with Alex Gerrick, Magnus Dahlgren, Jason Whitehead, Philip Enrique, Barry DiMarzo, George Angelidis, Oliver Day, and then you've got Becky Ely sitting 11th overall at the moment. You see there on the left hand side, Becky Ely in 11th place. Not bad for the leader, but she does need to make sure, even though she is kind of quite far ahead of Wayne Hutchinson here at the moment as well, does need to make sure she tries to finish ahead of Hutchinson. Hutchinson's down in 16th, so she's got a 5-place gain here for Becky Ely at the moment, as we're still seeing Risto Corpi there travelling around the track. Is going to come over the line for Corpi as well. 129.195. Fastest lap of the race, not the race, because we're only in quali, James. 129.195, fastest lap overall. So a great job from Risto Corpi here as well. And 1 minute 5 on the clock. Risto Corpi, fastest sector 1, fastest sector 2, and fastest sector 3. Nobody else is near Risto Corpi at the moment. So Corpi doing an absolute flying job with Kirby, Hall, Funk all behind him are your 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you got Becky Ely has just put herself into 5th in that McLaren F1 GTR. So a great job there from Becky Ely as well. Going into 5th for the LMGT1 AMS, of course, the leader of the championship here as well. Let's see if Paul is done with his technical problems. Paul, are you good there?
Oh, mate, no, not really. I can't get the client to work for replays. So that's not working for me for some reason. So, yeah, we might not have any replays this time out, I'm afraid. So,
right,
yeah,
well, there you go. Slightly errors.
Yeah, just
mate, live TV, it's all gravy. Don't you worry about it. We're not in full control
I've
never
had this happen before. I don't know why it's playing up. So, but yeah, one of those things, I guess.
Absolutely. So let's see what happened and see. Well, we'll see how it goes. See how the race goes on. We are going to get to the end of quali. We have got a warm up after this, while the drivers will do the driving briefing once more. So they will go into the driver briefing, which we do get used to as well. That's normally when Ross Smith jumps in. I give him a drilling about the 98 series. He tells me that he's not going to tell me anything because George won't let him, and then we sit here and just babble on for the next 5 minutes. So I can tell you how that interview's going to go, right, when he jumps in, because Ross is one of these people, he dangles the carrot, but he never quite feeds the donkey. That poor donkey, which is normally me, goes hungry. Talking of devil, he is in the booth with us. Good afternoon, Mr. Smith.
Good afternoon. What are we talking? Is it Donkey Show again? Is that what we're on about?
No, well, we were just talking about you, sir. I said we've got you coming in, and generally how it will go will be, can you tell me about the historics next season? You'll go no, and then I'll go okay, and then for the next 5 minutes we're waffling on about what's coming up. So, you know, I'm not going to ask because you're not going to tell me unless you're going to give me, you know, first access.
Well, I can tell you, basically coming off of what we had spoken about last time, we have been able to expand it to the 2 classes now, the 2 categories of car types. And they are based on engine size, so if that's something to go by. And yeah, it should be a field of at least 7 cars right now to start. We'll see if we can add back in the 2 remaining ones that we're hoping to have for the end of the season. Yeah, it's there's a lot on the table right now, a lot on everybody's plate to get everything done. So we'll see how that goes. But that's the goal right now. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, was that helpful?
Well, you didn't tell us the engine sizes or any inkling of what cars. So we're still, you know, it's just like hunting around in the dark for a light switch with a blindfold on. You know what I mean? And we're no closer, are we?
Well, I mean, November's only like a month away now, so it's not long.
Well, I know that, but that's still a long way. And, you know, for me, Mr. Impatient Englishman here, dear sir, come on. Can we just make a deal though before you release it? Can we get the first, you know, live interview? Can I get the scoop? Can I be the first exclusive individual to know what's going to happen in the historics? Can we set up an interview? You know, we'll have a formal camera. I'll invite you over to the UK. We'll go for a local beer down the pub, and we'll sit there with our mushy peas and chips, and we'll have a exclusive convo with Ross Smith. What about that?
Wow. An on-site interview.
An on-site interview, that works, doesn't it?
I'll have to have a chat with the boss. We'll see.
Paul did say he'd pay for your ticket, so that's nice of him.
I didn't say such a thing.
No.
Maybe.
Hey. Maybe you get on a vacation. But look, where are we at with the mod at the moment? You know, we're coming to the end of the season, right? You guys are going to be working on next season already. I don't doubt the fact. Are we doing any more developments with the mods this year on these current the current cars we've got in the modern and the historic? Or are we kind of like an F1 team at the moment, Ross, working on next season's cars and these ones can just finish off?
So there's a little bit of work on both fronts there. Most of it's being focused on the modern side, just so we can get that completed and wrapped up as we head into next year. Not to say that we're ignoring the historics. It's just you have to pick and choose. So we set the order as that. The 9X8 actually is going to have an update for the upcoming race at Road Atlanta. So you'll see some really, really good stuff on that one. The BMW obviously had its cockpit updated. That just leaves the Ferrari and the last two there. What was it? The Toyota and the Glickenhaus just need to be updated, and then that will kind of be it for all of the current ones, and we'll be in good shape. And then for this series, for the 98s, they're in line to get some updates. There are a few. I don't want to call them critical, but just some minor fixes that need to be done for stuff you're not going to really appreciate visually necessarily, but it's going to help drivers in certain ways, like the Panos. I'm not sure if you guys talked about it, but it had some issues with the curbing. So
yeah, we did talk about it just blowing up randomly. Yeah.
So that oddly enough, it's just going down here on your way to the old hairpin. Not seeing this anywhere else with this car, but that's something that we'll dive into, and we'll see if we can effect some kind of fix for it. So that way that is no longer an issue. It's obviously forced John and Kirby to go do their thing with the Nissan now. But yeah, we'll get that fixed up. And I mean, the cars are definitely set up so that way they can be released to the workshop, just like we plan to do with all of them. Behind the scenes, in terms of historic stuff, the 1971 cars are getting wrapped up. There was a bit of a tire model update for the Alfa Romeo. So that one needs to be changed because it really struggled with some of the tire wear issues. And so once that gets done, we'll implement some of Apex Modding's graphical updates that they did to their Ferrari 512 and the Porsche 917K. And we'll see what we can do as far as doing the same sort of treatment on IBL shaders for the Lola. So that way it looks nice and fancy. And then that will be our 71 mod. We'll quickly hop over to the 1991s. The Group Cs, will touch those up graphically, and there are some tire issues that need to be addressed there, particularly for the Sauber Mercedes, and then that one will be off to the workshop. We'll actually team up a little bit with I can't remember the modder's name at this point, but he actually did some work on the Group Cs from MacCore to get those updated to current standards. So we're going to team up with him and get those implemented as well, so that way his work can thrive and can match up and pair with ours in terms of the physics and all the other graphical things. and then that will be in the workshop, and then we'll come back to the 98s, and then we'll trick these out. We'll implement some of Apex's work between the GT1 and the two GT2 cars, the Viper and the 993. There's a lot of work going on behind the scenes between them, and our testing team, John Leon's been leading the charge on that pretty extravagantly, getting those cars in a place where they can just shine visually and performance-wise. So that way, it's really good stuff. And then once we have all of that in place, we're also going to introduce the Lister Storm, the GTS. That one was worked on by our own Barry Dimarzo. He wanted to introduce a new car. We ran out of time before the season started, unfortunately, so we could not include it in the field for this one. It obviously ran in a lot of the British GT Championship races in various formats. It was kind of across the world in a few other ones. Very loved by all, or maybe some of those who didn't have to drive it, but it'll be cool to have that iteration of that car in the mix. But we'll get that going, and then we'll be able to release that one to the workshop. And then we'll finally have all of our cars caught up, and we can start focusing on some of the other mod packs that we have in mind that are not sports cars per se. And those will be coming up in the next couple years. So that will be, we're very excited for those. They're gonna be awesome.
Okay. Now, just for instance, we've got viewers at home who, like me, aren't very programmable minded, shall we say. What goes into modding? What goes into it in general? What's the basis, and where do you start if you wanted to get into something like modding?
I would say if anybody's interested in actually starting, join a group, and certainly we are open to bringing people in and working with them, so that way they have the tools to be able to know what they're doing. If you want to learn, we'll teach you. We've got lots of resources in place to be able to do that. But in general, you have to build the car, you have to build the model, you have to acquire data, which can be very difficult for some of these older cars, or even some of the really new ones where manufacturers don't even know what the hell is going into the thing. And then you start plugging it in. We kind of split it up where we've got graphical and physics-based things as two separate teams. There's some correlation, particularly at the beginning. You set up wheelbase and all that other stuff, because R Factor 2 affects both simultaneously, because you can see the wheels bouncing around, all that. But yeah, you build the model, you input the data, you test the absolute snot out of it, and then you free it out into the world. And that's basically the workflow. It helps if you have a degree in mechanical engineering when you're going through the physics portion of it, because this software is used by real teams to do that. So it makes difference. But
well,
not to dissuade anyone.
Well, that's me knackered. So thanks very much for that. Because me and my little square Matchbox cars, I don't know if I could bring them into R Factor. At the end of the day, look, I'm sure there's a lot of work going into it as well. So are we saying then, if we want, in regarding of modding, you can pick any car, any sports car, any race car, any car you want, and bring it into a game?
Yes. Yeah. Anything with 4 or even less or more wheels. There are ways of getting that going. Yeah.
Robin Reliant, the freewheel Robin Reliant car.
It's in there. It's there's a mod for it. We've actually run it in NARS on Thursdays, and it's amusing.
It's a wicked car. It's like a little wheelbarrow. It's quality. Right, okay, so that's cool. For anybody that does want to get in, you can reach out as well. And I believe all Discord links are down in the description below, so you can get yourselves involved if you fancy coming along. As I say, degree in engineering preferred, but not essential. And so that probably more preferred. I've got to be honest here as well. Let's go to the race today. Ross, we've got rain, and no surprise, we are in England. Rain all day. Are we going to be raining for the whole race, do you reckon?
I'm pretty sure you could ask anyone in real life across the entirety of UK. Yeah, they would say, maybe.
Yeah, we've said yes.
Yeah, it looks like if nothing else, it's going to be damp. These are the types of conditions that viewers love, drivers loathe, because you you don't know what to prepare for. The Marcos, I can say, it's a handful even in the dry, and the wet just makes it more so. But you guys should have fun watching it all kick off. So.
Yeah, I'm sure we should. You know, what do we think in tyre deg? Because that was a conversation that come up between me and Paul earlier. Tyre deg on these tyres in the rain. What do we think at pit stops? You're going to 1, 2, 3. What are we looking at?
That's a huge wild card. I think you have to be prepared to change tires just to match conditions, because particularly for the GT2s, because we have the intermediate option. Whereas the other guys, it's basically, well, you want it wet or do you want to go soft? Because you have no other options. You try and go on a hard tire, even if there's like a speck of water on the track, you're probably going around, especially here. And so, yeah, I'd say have yourself set up so that way you can get into any sets of tires that you can. Traction is a premium here, so you want to do whatever you can to make sure that your car is planted going through these corners. So expect tires to be changed frequently.
Have you noticed there as well, right, everyone at home, that Ross currently completely gave me an answer that had no relevance to my question as well. He completely went out of his way. He's like a poker player in a major tournament there as well. He kept his cards
right. The drivers are listed, I think, James.
He kept his cards right close to his chest and never actually answered my question.
Yeah, agreed.
So, you know what I mean? So, you know, irrelevant, Paul, wasn't it? He gave me a different answer. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, with that assessment there, James. Yeah.
But he did say you're going to have to adjust for the conditions, so slightly makes me think we might get a dry run. Ross, what do you think? Are you going to give me an answer for that, or are you just going to say, I don't know?
Well, some of it's going to be very dependent on what happens with the racing line, because if that starts drying up like we saw in practice, if the rain settles down just enough, that can be a huge difference. And I'll say some people will risk it, others will not.
Right, do you know what? I'm going to invite Ross in later on. I'm going to get him to read a book to my daughter, because he's great at telling stories, but he's just never going to give me the actual answers. I don't know. Well, Ross, look, you go out and get yourself some practice. You've got 8 minutes remaining here, bud, as well, before we start kicking off the race. Good luck, matey. I hope you have a good one. You know what I mean? You're well up there within the championship, so I think overall leading the championship as well. What do we think? 3 races to go. What, we got 3 races to go. What do we think on your chances? You're 12 points ahead of JT Tammy, who's not here today. Is the championship yours if you can get some points on the board?
I don't want to claim anything before it's over. I've just, I'll just jinx myself. But
how's that fence treating you, Ross?
Hey, it helps me.
Is it a little bit pointy up the backside, or what?
Yeah, he's gonna got splinters in his rear end here, isn't he?
Hey, drive a few laps with the Marcos. You're very good at balance, you know.
Yeah, I can see. I can see here as well. Literally, Ross Smith not giving an inch or nothing away there at all. Doesn't want to, you know. There we go. Right, Ross, we'll let you go. Me and Paul will have a chat about the fact that you've just sat on the fence for the entire 10 minutes that you've been in the booth with me. So much appreciated for that one. And I'll catch up with you soon, no doubt, mate.
Yeah. Hopefully, these guys are tough, man. I don't want to take anything away from them, because I mean, even Peter Meyer, I mean, he obviously laid down a slapper of a lap, and all those Vipers, man, they're angry.
Well, yeah, but to be fair, Peter Meyer's in a different class. You've got this. You'll be all right.
We'll see. I appreciate the vote of confidence. All right, have a good race, guys.
And you. Cheers, Ross.
Bye. Oh dear, well we can safely say there, I think Ross Smith just completely sat on the fence on that one, Paul. Any question we asked, he gave me a completely different answer. It was almost like reading a fairy tale to my daughter before she went to bed there.
Yeah, no, you're right to call it out there, James. But you know, I think he is being very careful about his answer, because he doesn't want to give anything away where people might think, oh, that's his strategy, and then somebody could cover it off. So I kind of get it to a point. But yeah, it's. But also, you know, we say a lot of it in jest, because Ross is a really nice guy, and he's fun, and you can have a bit of a laugh with him. So, but yeah, he's trying to give you an answer without giving you an answer, and I can understand why he's trying to do that. But just for those who are watching the broadcast, apologies for a couple of our technical issues today, but I've managed to get replays working, so we're back on that arena. So managed to solve that while James kind of kept talking away. So thank you, James. Appreciate that. And a man like you knows it's not easy to broadcast and talk at the same time. So
no,
it is tricky. So, but it's good that James is leading us, and I could just sort of chip in every so often.
Yeah, it's definitely not an easy one, and our Factor 2 in general, guys, is not an easy one. Never-ending wrinkled face, not getting anything from him, good try. Well, I do try every time I pull Ross in, and he never gives me anything. He did say we've got 7 cars based on engine size for the new historics, right? But then he didn't give me any engine sizes, and he didn't even give me any car names. So, you know, technically we're still guessing late 60s, early 70s. I know that's been bandishing around as well. That's what a couple of people have messaged me about. You know, I've got me and Becky Elia, like conspiracy theorists here, Paul. You know what I mean? We've been messaging each other about, right, hold on a minute. He's just said engine size. What do we think that's going to be? So we've been trying to stalk him out together, but none of us, you know, to be honest, me and Becky don't have a Scooby-Doo. I'm not going to lie. We're fully, you know, fully in the dark. As I say, you might as well put a blindfold on and try and find the light switch.
Isn't that the way it should be, right? Should be in the dark.
Yes, absolutely. But I do think, if, you know, a sit-down exclusive interview, that would be ideal, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah. A bit like, you know, when a team comes to announce their car for the season ahead, right?
Yeah.
You want to kind of drum up a little bit of excitement. You know, you want the press ready and waiting with bated breath as to what you're gonna come out with.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. That, you know, I don't know if George is going to fund a ticket for Ross to fly over. You know what I mean? I'm not sure about that. Right, we have forwarded the warm-up, and guys, the cars will be getting onto the grid. Now, don't forget, it is a single file start. That's not because we want to prevent racing down into turn 1, right? You know, because everybody wants to see that. What we want them to do is be able to get across the line and actually start the race. So we put it in. The orange zone is there as well, so they will have to be careful down into the old hairpin. But we do want them to try and get somewhere on the racetrack, all right? And especially for this 250 kilometers of Donington. So, yeah, I think today's going to be really interesting. It's definitely going to be a battle of, how can I put it? Mindset, stamina, I probably would say would be the best way.
I think you're right. Yeah, it's going to be about stamina. Is going to be really important today, especially in these tricky conditions, because it's not necessarily about your fitness, it's more about your mental stamina as well, because it is tricky. These are going to be tricky conditions, and we might see a bit of a dry line developing around during the race, but it's never going to switch to full dries at any point. So and they're going to want to keep the wets on, because as soon as they try to make an overtake, they're going to be going onto the wet surface anyway. So I mean, look, if I was in the cockpit right now, I'd be just trying to tread carefully for the first few laps, let the field try and spread out perhaps before I start. I wouldn't go trying to make any bold moves unless a door, you know, opens up in front of me that's so obvious that it's there, and I'd be silly to not take it. Then yeah. But other than that, you want to try. But you hope everybody else is going to have a similar mindset.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? There's always this thing of what you may do compared to what other people do, and it doesn't always work out the same kind of scenario. You know what I mean? We never end up sometimes with the same thing. Now, one of the things I have just quickly done in the background, right, because we haven't said how many laps they're going to do. Now, me doing simple maths, don't get me wrong, I am no mechanical engineer. 250 kilometers divided by the 4.2 that the GP circuit layout is, gives us a total of 62.18 laps. Now, obviously, we're going to take off the pace lap for that, so we're looking nearly a good probably 61 laps here of Donny. Now, you know, some people struggle to do 10 here, Paul. Doing 61 is going to be a little bit crazy. We'll have a look, but that is some of the results for the grid. That's going to be your grid. Risto Corby, Dan Kirby, Brian Hall, Ethan Funk and Magnus Dahlgren. I'm going to read them a bit quicker because I've got a funny feeling the GT1s are halfway up round Coppice and going that way at the moment. George Delidis, Becky Ely, Gilles Lalonde, Barry Dimarzo and John Uyan are your top 10. And then we'll go down into the next page after that as well, where we've got Alex Gehrig, Wayne Hutchinson, Yuki Takanashi, Oliver Day, Timon Civic, Alex Garrett. Is everybody going back in here? Yeah, Alex Garrett, Wayne Hutchinson, Jason Whitehead, Stephen Miller, Philip Enrique, Peter Meyer is the first of the GT2s with Ross Smith there as well in 20th place. Ross Smith down in 20th. Matthew Overton, Dave Cause and Kevan Torrance, or would we still say Kevin? Kevan, isn't it? Kevan Torrance. Kevan? Yeah. So Risto Corby apparently was rolling and got DQ'd. He's being punished for starting at the back of the grid. So I'm going to presume that we are going to be looking at restarting here as well. So we'll get that out and Risto Corby will go to the back, unfortunately. So there you go. That's the grid, guys, as well. Settle down now as well. It's 61. Is it 61 plus the formation lap or 62 plus the formation? Well, as I said, I come out, I think it was like 61 point something, wasn't it, at the time? Oh, hold on. Let me do it again because my old brain can't remember. It's 62.03 minus off the one formation lap would say 61, but that's not definitive, I don't think, because you know, they do say never trust a commentator's maths, and that's probably right up. Yeah, 62.18 taken off the formation lap would be 61.1. So yeah, give or take. Seems to have lost Paul's sound, says Phil. So
right, here we go. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, my mic might have been off. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Yeah,
working on that one as well. Don't forget, it is a tough one at the best of times doing this kind of with our Factor 2. So we're just waiting for the cars to get back onto the grid once more. Risto Corby will go to it. He's got an EOL, end of line. So we will go to the end of the line. So that's going to be tough for Risto Corby. Not an ideal start for him.
Yeah, it's not, but you know he's got the slower cars to migrate past, hasn't he? So he'll be hoping that he can do that easily enough, and hopefully that he doesn't get caught up in any carnage now, really, because that's what's going to throw him off potentially, that where he's starting so far back.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the things for Risto Corby. He's going to have to be sensible about it. Now, my only fear here is, Paul, aren't we talking EOL end of the line in form of the grid? Are we talking EOL the end of the GT1?
I honestly don't know, James, to be honest with you. I don't really know how to answer that question, but I think, are we getting underway now? Here we go.
Yeah, we're back on the pace lap.
Yeah, so yeah, fun times, and we've got the GT1s moving ahead, and they'll be closely followed by the GT2s.
Yeah, I'm trying to find where Risto Corby is sat at the moment. I've got a funny feeling that segment on the back left sat out as well. So if we can pick up on Risto Corby, that'd be great, and then we'll know where he's going to be going. Oh, somebody was off track there. That's not an ideal scenario, I'm not gonna lie. Is that still Risto Corby out front at the moment?
Yeah, I don't quite know what's happened there, because obviously we were told something and that hasn't quite developed. So yeah.
Strange, but we'll see what happens here, guys, as well, as we will be getting this underway very, very shortly here once more for this 250 laps of Donington Park Grand Prix circuit set in Donington Park, Castle Donington in Derby. So let's see what happens here as well. This is going to be a very interesting one, Paul. I think they're going to have to really try and maintain the car on track. I think that's one of the things. Keep it on the grey stuff, you might get some points.
Yeah, and that's going to be the tricky thing, as we know today, with these particular conditions that we have, right? So that's a battle in itself. Not only have you got to compete with your fellow competitors, but then you've actually got to compete with the tricky conditions as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We can see the GT2s in the bottom right-hand corner there as well. You can see them down there. That is, I believe, Peter Meyer in the Viper as well. Not a massive gap between them and the GT1s. I thought you might have left a little bit more of a gap there just for making up on any issues that may arise or anything that may happen. But Risto Corby still out in front as we're going to be going round the final corner down into Gullards, and Risto Corby there I think may have got away with one. We are going to be up away. It will be Risto Corby, it will be Dan Kirby with Brian Hall, and now we are racing. We are up and running for the 250k of Donington. You can see bottom right hand corner there as well. Peter Meyer is going to start it off. Kirby's right alongside Corby at the moment. There's a battle further back with Ethan Funk and Magnus Dahlgren here making a move, or trying to make a move on each other as well, as they plummet down through Hollywood, down through Craner Curves. Peter Meyer, bottom right hand corner, leading the LMGT2s away, doing a great job at the moment. Spray coming out the back of his car as well. Very tricky, and that's him off. Oh, he's not the only one. He's not the only one. I think Ross Smith has just picked up the lead. Peter Meyer was off in turn one. That's allowed Ross Smith to take the lead in the GT2s there, Paul. Not an ideal start for Peter Meyer.
No, not ideal for him at all. Yeah, let's see if we can have a look and see what happened there.
Oh, I've got a funny feeling, mate. He just missed his braking point, didn't he? He did. There's no contact with anyone, missed his braking point, didn't get that Viper slowed down. Off we go, dear sir. With sand digging like a day out in Weymouth in the rain there for Peter Meyer, unfortunately. And he has gone. He can build you a nice sandcastle as we go back to live pictures now with Peter Meyer down in 22nd place in that Viper GTSR. But it is Dan Kirby out in front. Where is Risto Corby gone, Paul? Any updates on Risto Corby? I think he's gone.
He's fallen back to P14.
So are we saying, it looks like he's been into the pits here. Did he take a drive through to get to the back end of the line?
Maybe, yeah. He's got a count up on the pit stop, hasn't he? So yeah, that's potentially what's happened there. Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah, Mr. Reese there as well. F1 would not race in these conditions anymore. No, but they're not men. They're not Senna. They're not Schumacher driving a car with a gearbox and a
Risto Corby's back into the pits.
So maybe Corby's got to do 2 drive-throughs to get to the back of the line. I don't know.
So he's out now. He's been lapped because the race leader's gone past Daniel Kirby.
Okay, well, we'll try and find out what's going on in the meantime here, guys. There's a lot going on, the information that we don't get given, unfortunately. And Risto Corby has not had a good one here whatsoever. Now, whether or not that's the end of his race, we do not know. Ross Smith, down in your bottom right-hand corner, he's currently leading in the LMGT2s, of course. He's doing a great job there as well. Don't forget, he is leading the championship over JT Tammy. We've got a replay here as well. Oh, Gilles Lalonde gets it all wrong.
Nearly takes out a competitor. That would have been something special, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but is that Gilles Lalonde in the Panos GTR?
Yeah.
I thought the Panos was the one that is couldn't ramble.
Oh, and Dave Cause has already, he had an off track a moment ago and he's DNF'd. So I don't know what's happened there to Dave. We can definitely go back and have a look.
Let's have a look and see what happened to Dave Cause here. Unfortunately, he's out here as well. There he is in that Viper. What does he? Doesn't hit the wall though. So
no. Maybe he's had a technical. You never know. He might have had a technical issue locally, but he's in the pits now. So yeah, we'll wait and see what's happened there. Yeah.
I'm interested to know about Gilles Lalonde in that panos, right? Because Kirby and Dahlgren both dropped the panos due to the fact that it was randomly blowing up in Old Hairpin, as Ross Smith said. So why would Gilles Lalonde still be in it?
Don't know. That's a really good question.
And we have no answers. So there we go. You know, we'll see what happens as the race is underway. Lap 4 of 63. Dave Cause looks like he's got caused another yellow. Kirby on the best lap time at the moment, 1:31.9. Brian Hall second, Dahlgren third, Funk, Angelidis and Becky Ely. Ely rounding out the top 6 with Day, Suvik, Garrick, Takanashi, Corpy and Hutchinson behind him there as well. So great opening start at the moment. Great racing going on. Kirby, this is the problem, Paul, isn't it? And we've seen it before with Dan Kirby. You let him get away and he's gone. He's in a different postcode before you're even thinking about it.
Yeah, but we've seen it in other races though, where the race will come back to other cars, to other people. For those who've been in the dry, not necessarily in the wet. So as I touched on earlier on in qualified, I don't really have much experience watching these 1998 cars during these kind of conditions. So I don't really know how it's going to unfold. But Brian Hall has got Magnus Dahlgren in very close company behind as well.
Yeah, there's literally less than about a second behind them as well. Becky Ely's got Oliver Day for company further back once more as well. That's in 6th and 7th. Takanashi's within a second there as well. We've got John Uyan in that Nissan R390 GT1. He's about 0.4 back at the moment as well. It looks like there's a couple of people well out of position here. Johnny Uyan is definitely one that's out of position. Not normally sitting down in 14th at the moment for that CMS Pro with Dan Kirby. He's normally a little bit further up than that. Once more, 6 of 63 here, Paul. We've lost Dave Coles by the looks of it. Risto Corpy's been driving through twice. We've had the carnage and a little bit of Peter Meyer going off track. Are we going to be settling down, do we think? Surely they've got to use a certain part of the racetrack and a certain time of the racetrack, lap 10 onwards maybe, just to settle in, click off laps. Surely that's got to be the aim.
Maybe. It's I haven't. Part of me wants to have a go in these cars. I've not actually had a go in them myself to really kind of understand, trying to get a bit more information about what their strengths and weaknesses are for these particular series of cars. But Becky here at the moment is right on the back of George, but doesn't appear to get too close, and then being able to make a move. But you look at all of these cars; they've all got these twitchy kind of characteristics, haven't they? Where they're trying to put the power down, and that's the thing, isn't it? In these conditions, is trying to, as you would in the dry, trying to carry as much speed as possible, and then trying to get out of the corners. But then, if you put too much pressure on that throttle, then you're potentially going to cause a lot of issues for yourself by facing the wrong way at some point.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things we don't want to happen. You know what I mean? We don't want them facing the wrong way, and unfortunately it looks like we may be looking at somebody just about to do that now. Is that Gilles Lalonde again in that panos on the grass there, getting it all wrong, coming out of Coppice on the run down into the fog of the S's by the looks of it. And unfortunately Gilles Lalonde not doing too well. No, he's still not doing well. I'm not entirely sure.
Oh, well, he hit the barrier there as well for good measure. So, yeah.
That seems a weird one for Gilles Lalonde.
A little bit, and he's into the pits now as well. So, yeah, a bit of a strange one. I saw few things going off on the screen, so I thought we'd go and have a look and see what's happening then. But we'll get back to the race lead.
Yeah, Dan Kirby out in front by 5.6. Ethan Funk, however, in that 4th place at the moment, with George Angelides in 5th. He's being pressured by Becky Ely, and we've got Oliver Day right behind her there as well. So let's keep an eye on that battle. But you can see just going through the bottom of your picture now, that was Ethan Funk and Magnus Dahlgren battling it out with 0.4 between them. We can see Becky Ely in that McLaren, George Angelides in the Ferrari 333 with his teammate there behind him, giving him a hand. Oliver Day putting Becky Ely under pressure. Do we think there as well we're going to be able to see it? Oh no, my mistake. Oliver Day's in the same livery, but he's not in the same team. George is teamed up with Barry Dimarzo, of course. So, yeah, a little bit deceiving, but there we go. Oliver Day's got to try and save George Angelides here. Putting Becky Ely under pressure might be the good thing.
Yeah, and Risto Corpi's not far behind that battle as well. We can see Risto Corpi's through the bottom right-hand corner. He's making moves back up, but I think he is a lap or so down at the moment as well. So he's got to try and navigate those whilst also trying to get himself back into the contention of the race lead. Though it is shown on my live timing that he's on 7 laps like everybody else. So maybe he's not as far back as we first thought. Well, I first thought anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's dropped back at the moment, so we'll see. Maybe he got away with that drive-through and managed to do it before he got lapped, I guess. You know, one and then he come back in and went on another one. So we'll try and find out details. Not entirely sure what was going on there with Risto Corpi currently at the moment. We know he got an EOL, which is end-of-line penalty for jumping the start. Supposed to have started from the back, then he was in the front. And then we really didn't quite have a clue what was going on after that either. So Ross Smith, bottom right hand corner, leading that GT2s at the moment as well, with Matthew Overton. You know, at the moment for Ross Smith, Overton 0.8 back at the moment. Just there, you can just see him in the background in that Chrysler Viper GTSR. But on the battle on your main screen, we've got George Angelides, we've got Ethan Funk there coming, having a nice little tidy battle with Dahlgren. Oh, back marker there as well. That's Torrance.
Just nicely got out of the way though, but also a lot slower. So that's given George a bit of breathing space for Becky there, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. It's helped him a little bit there, but as you can see, this is the battle down in GT2's Ross Smith for that rookie monsters Marcos with he's got Matthew Overton right behind him at the moment, half a second back. Ross was a little bit worried about the Vipers. He did say that they look angry. They did say he could be under pressure. Do we think they are, or do we think he was sandbagging a little bit?
It's hard to know with Ross because he sits on that fence, doesn't he? And it's I don't know. He did seem a little bit concerned when I was talking to him earlier on, but I also think because the Viper is like a wider car, you know, the shape, and it's kind of lower down, I think that helps in these kind of conditions for me because it's not as narrow. But then,
what do you mean, weight distribution?
Yeah, weight distribution. Yeah, I wonder if the car is better suited because they look reasonably similar pace. I mean, as we talk about, a lot of commentators talk about, it's one thing to catch up with somebody, but it's something else completely to make the move, as we all know. So and he's not. I mean, he's close, but he's not right on the back, and we've got the race leader catching them already.
Kirby in the background there as well. 10 laps it's taken here as well. Mr. Reese has given us some information. Corby is not a lap down. He is in 8th, only 15 seconds behind Dan Kirby. Well, we've got him at 13.8, but thanks anyway for giving us the information. Now, we did wonder about it. I'm not quite sure if there's going to be a penalty coming after. We'll have to pay attention to that one because, as I say, we were aware he got an EOL beforehand. Alex Gehrig down in 10th and there as well, with Yuki Takanashi right behind him. Becky Ely doing a great job sitting in 6th at the moment. And then you've still got Ross Smith, Matthew Overton, Peter Meyer, Cavan Torrance, and Gilles Lalonde. Looks like he's out at the moment there, Paul. Am I right in that one?
Yes, it does look like he's out. Yeah, I can see he's had a couple of obs. We'll go back at some point and have a look and see what unfolded there.
Yeah, he had that big one, didn't he? He kind of had that big one where it all just seemed to go a little bit wrong for not Corby, for Gilles Lalonde.
Yeah, no, he did. Yeah, but I think he had some more. Might have had more following that, because I could see that he did leave the pits after we looked at him as well. But I can also see that Barry Dimarzo has also had some kind of vision.
It's a bottom right-hand corner. That's second place, I think, trying to get through there as well. That's the Mercedes. Oh, they were literally going at it there as well. There was contact. The Viper's round. The Viper's round is going to be sat there. There's nowhere. Go on your brakes. Where are you going? Oh, that was Brian Hall tapping around.
Absolute carnage at the back. I think that might be Oliver Day.
What was gone on there? There was Oliver Days on the grass. There was Brian Hall. There was Peter Meyer. There was Ross Smith. All coming down the start-finish straight. I'm not too sure where Brian Hall was up to or where he was seen to be going, but this is just before. There's contact there with Becky. Oh! That's the number 12 as well. That's Risto Corby. Risto Corby into Oliver Day, and that, Paul, I've got to be honest, is clearly not paying attention to the fact that there was yellow flags there. We're trying to get back to see if we can get the initial contact, what happened with Brian Hall as well currently at the moment. So bear with us on that one as well. We do have a technical issue. We have lost pictures. There we go. We are back. We're trying to deal with the battle and try and find where the main initial contact started, and I think that was Brian Hall and Peter Meyer. I'm not entirely sure Meyer's going to be overly chuffed if that was the start of it there, Paul, but that A, looked chaotic, and B, it looked like nobody was slowing down for a yellow flag.
Yeah, OBS doing OBS things there, unfortunately. That's the thing, right? It's about trying to adjust to the conditions in front of you, and you should be slowing down, and he seemed to come out of nowhere at full pelt, and I don't know if he lost it before then as well. So let's go and have a look, see if we can try and work out what happened to Barry Dimarzo. That's the first thing we saw. So he was off.
But he's already gone, right? Now, he's already slid. We need to get back. I think it's Brian Hall. So he comes back on track, no major dramas, right? And it was the 3 wide of Brian Hall's situation. So we'll see how far we can get back and whether or not we can pick it up. Bear with us here, guys, as well. We will try and do it. So Dimarzo again off in turn 1 there as well. Unfortunately, Dimarzo, we've seen him have races like this before where it starts going wrong for Barry. It just goes wrong, unfortunately, for Dimarzo. So it stopped raining, says Mr. Reese, but let's see if we can get the main part. Oh, that's Barry Dimarzo again. Old Hall.
Sorry, I'm clicking the
poor old Barry Dimarzo there. Paul showcasing him, spinning more than a ballerina. So there we go. Look, Brian Hall on the 174. Right, watch the non-slowers. The yellow flag's out. There we go. There's Day. There's Corby in the background. That's Angelides. Then we go back here. We see Oliver Day get shot up in the air. And that, unfortunately, for Brian Hall, started that. And then this. What was that? Nobody slowed down for yellow flags.
And then Oliver Day has another moment following that as well. So no one's slowing down there, are they?
Yeah, no. I know, but look now what it's caused. Kirby's now out in front by 17.7 seconds. We've got people that are now going to have to go into the pits. Corby's gone in. Day's gone in. yeah, that's going to have a bit of effect. Smith's now laughing in the LMGT2s. He's got 2.4 over Overton. Causes a DNF. Myers 17 seconds in front of Torrance. So it goes to show that that one kind of incident, well, caused the drama, I suppose, for just purely because people didn't realise there was a yellow.
Yeah. Time and time again, really. Sometimes you see this regularly, that the yellow flags are there for a reason. But that carnage, Ethan Funk's come out well with that. He's now up into P2, so winners and losers all around.
Yeah, Dahlgren's up into third, Hall's down into fourth. We've got Angelides leading the LMGT1s. He's still got Ely right behind him at the moment. It's probably one of our closest battles on circuit there. There is Angelides, there is Ely. Now that's not Oliver Day behind him on the same lap. And there's Takanashi, that's the third place man. I've got a funny feeling behind Ely at the moment there is Oliver Day, and he's trying to come through. So we'll see how this one pans out as well.
Confirm that is Oliver Day. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's Riston Corpi. Angelides, give it an opportunity. Do we think he can wrap this up? Because he has had other races where he has been out in front, but not able to maintain it. I don't think he's won.
There's a contact with Day and Becky there. Can he? Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, is it as we touched on at the start of this? It's not always about the physical. It's about the mental ability of the driver to be able to focus and concentrate. And your senses are heightened in these conditions as well, because you think you know what the track conditions are, but they can change lap by lap, right? Especially if it stops raining, there could be more grip, but if it starts raining, there'll be less grip the next time you come round. So it's whether he can put it all together, and sometimes you need a bit of luck as well to make it happen. And you could argue that George sometimes doesn't have much of that.
No, he did take the win at the 2.5 in Le Mans, so he has got one win on the board at the moment. It's interesting to note as well, I think we are literally not raining. I'm not seeing window wipers here, Paul, currently at the moment. I'm seeing spray, but I'm not seeing it downpour there as well. Slight bit of blue sky in the distance there. Maybe that's looking at trying to push that sun out that we hope we might be able to find here. Could we start seeing the pit stops? Mr. Reese is in YouTube. Corby went onto the softs. So Corby's already on the soft tyres. If he has done that, that's a big move early, considering, yes, there is a line, but I wouldn't say it's a predominant dry line.
No, not at all. But sometimes, virtual racing doesn't necessarily fully replicate the real thing. So maybe he feels he can get away with it in the current conditions. Who knows? I've got to say, this McLaren F1 GTR does sound good when you ride on board with it, doesn't it?
Absolutely stunning. It's a beautiful car in general, central seat position as well. Absolutely amazing. And I think the car itself overall was just one that come out, wasn't it? It brought out the central driving position, and nobody had ever said that, nobody had ever thought of whacking a seat in the middle. So, for the McLaren to come out and do that, that was a big moment for race cars and sports cars in general.
Yeah. And road cars as well, right? Because many millionaires bought them for the road as well, and crashed many of them over the years too. But yeah, you're right. I'm just looking at the cars. I'm not seeing wipers. The race leader is no longer using his wiper. So that was a good observation from you, James. It looks like it has stopped raining. So yeah, interesting to see how this is going to develop, or whether the rain will start again at some point. We've still got a number of laps to go.
We definitely have here as well. 16 of 63 laps. So we've still got a long old way to go here at Donington, as we're just starting lap 17. Kirby out in front by 16.8 seconds here. Who are we going to be looking at now? What have they been up to? Oh,
Thomas
Suvic getting it all wrong, running up the gravel
Suvic,
there.
sorry, not Thomas.
Yeah, that's coming through Coppice, isn't it? On the one down. Yeah, looks like he's got it all run coming in through Coppice there. So unfortunately for team on there. Oh, Command Torrance.
Going wide. Yeah. Going a bit wide.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think you need to go that wide. So, you know, yeah, I'm sure the drivers will appreciate him getting out the way, but probably didn't need to get that far out.
He now needs to get out of the way a lot here because he's got quite a number of cars. Oh, looks like there might be contact there.
Contact with Timon Suvic. Is that Brian Hall? Look at the panic. I can feel the panic coming out of that Mustang already. Oh,
it's contact.
Oh, no. Brian. And was that with Oliver Day?
I don't think that's Brian's fault, to be honest with you. There, I think that's. I think that might. Yeah, that is Oliver Day. It looks like as well, but I don't think that's his fault. We'll go back and look at that.
Let's have a look. But I'm going to have a question there as well once this is done.
Because Brian's on the inside. So he's got the apex, so it's the passing car has got to give him the room.
Yeah. The question will be,
I mean, no, to be fair to Oliver, he was slightly ahead. That's tricky.
yeah, that would be a tricky one. Now, my other question, and you probably can know where I'm going with this, being that Oliver Day is a lap bit down. As well.
That's tricky, isn't it? If you look at that, that's really tricky because he is ahead, and Brian is on the apex, so it's not like
Brian
he's
is
got
on the inside.
Yeah, it's not like he's got anywhere else to go.
So, do we think then, being that Day is a lap down, as well, Brian Hall might.
He's gone round again. And I don't know if that was contact or if that was...
Nearly there, didn't he?
Yeah.
Nearly contact with Brian Hall. It stopped raining here near Donny at the minute, but due to start again in 19 minutes. So then Mr. Reese says it's raining. So are we... It's a bit of a different, isn't it? Because obviously at the moment it's...
He's gone. At that point, he was already gone, wasn't he? He was already...
It's a tough one there, isn't it?
I think he hit him, but he went into the back of him. I mean, there's not really much. I mean, that's not on Brian, is it? Really?
No, you can't blame that one. I'm not going to lie. There's no way in a month for Sundays you can blame that on Brian Hall. To be honest, it looks like Oliver Day just ran far too deep in. Was there contact though? Because it doesn't look like there was a lot, if there was any.
No, I think it was minute. If you look at it, it's minute contact for sure. Because then suddenly Brian's car comes round, doesn't it? So there's minute contact, I think, on that one.
Yeah, I think we're going to. Well, we won't try and debate that one, unfortunately, because we're not in the stewards. Whether or not there's going to be a penalty, we will see what happens. So from that one, but Oliver Day not doing too well currently in a lap down on your leader Dan Kirby, now 30 seconds. Angelidis and Ely though battling it out for the front of the LMGT1s there.
Yeah, our P2 man has obviously been in the pits because he's fallen back, so I think we've been in the...
It's not registering the pits.
Oh, so maybe something else has happened then that we've gone and missed.
Oh, Angelidis got a little bit squirrely. Sorry there, Paul, coming through the Melbourne hairpin. Oh, can Ely look at getting a run into Goddard's now? Is that McLaren going to be as fast as that Ferrari? We're going to find out here. as they're going down the start-finish straight now. We're on board Becky Ely's nose in the bottom right-hand corner. That's George Angelidis right in front of him. Tumult Suvic in front of there. Here we go down into turn 1 now as well. Ely's just not close enough currently at the moment as they go on that run down into Hollywood and through the grainy curves. Is this going to be Becky Ely's opportunity? Is she going to be able to make it? It's raining again on track. The window wipers are going on Ely's car there, Paul.
They are.
Looks
I
like
think
they're
there might be
back
spray though. In certain parts of the track, there is a considerable amount of spray. That might be why she's put the wiper. I don't think it's raining that I can see.
Well, I've got 5% rain here, mate.
It's raining. Hallelujah. Somebody's just put in chat. There you go.
Yeah, Mr. Reese did. So let's see once more as we're back under the rain here in Donington. As we've got Phil giving us real life rain reports as well. So much love to Phil, who lives right near Donington. So yeah, great job there from Phil as well. Great battles commencing, especially down in this GT1 and battle. Angelidis, oh, is that the 53 of Maya? Yeah, it is. And Ely looking like she's on a slide as well here, Paul.
Yeah. Both at it, aren't they, really? George is coming into the pits now, so what does Becky do? Does she carry on? Yes, she does.
Yeah. I think that's probably the right thing to do, to be fair, for Becky Ely. Carry on and get it over and try something different.
Yeah, I agree. I think she's probably got the pace, but just not enough pace to make the overtake out on track.
Do we reckon Angelidis might have been holding her up? Do we think that's a possibility?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Especially if you got to take into account the aero as well, right? If you're in the wake of another car, especially in these trickier conditions, you're going to lose a little bit of aero because you're following closely behind another car. That's gonna take its toll as well. But then on the flip side, if you're in the air of the other car, you're not going to necessarily use as much fuel because you're not having to break up the air as much. So it'll be interesting to see if Becky extends or whether she comes in straight away. But I think she can try extending and just see, and then we can have a look and compare the lap times.
Yeah, I wonder if she's managed to save fuel tucked it behind Angelidis, or whether or not she just kind of went full pelt and burnt it, to be honest. But we'll see how it works out. We are off around the Melbourne hairpin there as well. Big old slide again.
Catching up the GT2s as well.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one now as well. Traffic, slower cars, make a decision. Yeah, I think that was the right one, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised there, Paul, especially with that traffic there as well.
Yeah, I think that's the right call. As you can see, the car. It's a strange pit, isn't it? Very, very bumpy. I noticed that earlier on. So that promotes Yuki Takanashi, doesn't it? So for the moment,
yes.
So let's understand what Yuki's going to do.
No, I think, well, there's a 76-second gap to Angelidis. So we'll see if Angelidis can make it past Ely in the pit stop phase, or how close it's going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if Takanashi does come in, to be fair, straight away, because I think that's probably going to be the right thing to do, to try and cover them off. Paul, I don't know necessarily what would be the benefit, do you think, of running a little bit longer? Do you think he was going to try, Takanashi's going to have a go?
Well, it's hard to know, isn't it? Because of the conditions. I don't know what the tyre life is, but as we all know, it's very extreme in the dry, isn't it? When you put on new tyres, the lap time gain. So if he's got live timing up, then they can judge that, can't they? And see if somebody's coming out and they're 3 or 4 laps second faster than you, you might want to get in as soon as possible. So. Let's just see, coming round now onto the last corner, where I don't think they're going to stay out very, very long. And I think the tight line there is telling me all we need to know. There we go.
Yeah, straight in. Ely did come out in front of Angelidis there, Paul, as well.
Oh,
Becky
interesting.
Ely did,
Yeah.
come out in front of Angelidis. Angelidis, at the moment, I've got him about 3 seconds back. They're now closing in, of course, for Takanashi, who is the current leader in the GT1s. Hutchinson's in as well, so that should free up Becky Ely, do we think, to retake the lead? She seems a long way back at the moment, as we're still going around Coppice on the run down into the S's, but pit lane times, well, they're varying quite a lot at the moment, aren't they? Between 85 and 91 seconds. Becky Ely on an 85 second there as well. Angelidis on a 91, so that could be where the time difference come from.
Yeah, we can see that Yuki's not moving yet, and they're coming down now into the second to last corner. Back up the hill with George very close behind. So where did Becky gain that time? Do we think in the pit stop?
Yeah, well, I've got it down as stop time 66.8. George Angelidis 71. Pit lane time 85 compared to Angelidis' 91. Now that presents a 6 second gap, right? That depends on the hold up of what Ely's managed to do on her out lap. Is the fact that Angelidis is now only sitting a second back. Takanashi is now out and he's back in fourth. Hutchinson's jumped him in the pit stop cycle. Dahlgren's just gone in as well, so that might leave Suvic and Whitehead to pit with Brian Hall, I believe, as well. Dan Kirby has been in, but Dan's only 18 seconds back from Brian Hall, so Kirby should take the lead there. But I think a lot of that was pit stops, and I've got a funny feeling Angelidis just made a mistake because he's nearly dropped to 2 seconds.
Yeah, I'm not seeing an off-track notification for him, but I am seeing one for Oliver Day. We'll take a look at that in a moment. I can see the likes of Jason Whitted has got some is in the pits. So with Magnus Dahlgren and Timon Suvic as well. So Brian Hall currently out in the lead of the GT1s. Did his best lap time last time around as well. So, and I think the conditions are nowhere like where they were at the start, are they? There's a lot less spray around at the moment, which explains why able to set the fastest lap of the race so far for him, anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. But you can see that developing line, that dry line now. Brian Hall looking at trying to find the wet patches at the moment. I think, you know, you could be looking at a pit stop there for Mr. Hall. Do we have the tyres of what everybody else is on at the moment? Are we still relying on the fact that they're rain, and rain? Or do we think we've got some softs going on at the moment? Because there was talk of Risto Corpi on softs here, Paul.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm wondering whether I can get that information up on the live timing, but I'm not 100% sure, so I'm going to have a quick look.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get that up there as well for you to see if we can. So just bear with us on that one, and we'll see if we can get that up onto the live timing.
There
so
you
we
go.
can have a look as well as the tyre choices will be popping up on our screen shortly, I'm sure. I've
got them for you at least for your. But I didn't know if you can get them up. Can you get them up on the overlay?
Yeah, I think there is a timer down. Scroll down. You can see.
There is. I've never used it before. Apologies, everybody. Look at that. I've learned something new.
Yeah, rain, and softs for Dahlgren. So Dahlgren's the only man on the softs. Suvic's out on the hards. We've got 4 DNFs at the moment, so Dimarzo, Enrique Lalonde and Dave Cause, but everybody's still on wets, including Risto Corpi, who, oh no, he's out on the softs actually. Corpi's on the softs, Dahlgren's on the softs, and Suvic's on the hards.
It's not very easy to read that, is it? On the live timing for everybody watching, but I put it on the live timing for you, so it's a little bit easier to read. So
yeah, I think they need a background. It needs a white background, doesn't it, to really show up and tell us all the information.
Yeah.
But, Mr. Rees, Corby switched back to wets, but Dahlgren is on soft, Suvic's on hards. Well, we've got Corby here on soft tyres, and he's just DNF'd, if I'm not mistaken. So I've got him down as a DNF.
Yeah, he has just DNF'd on my screen as well. Yes, I'll see if I can see if something's happened.
Yeah, Mr. Reese there as well has just come up and said now Corpy's DNF. So we'll see what we can find out.
He was in the pits.
Angelidis and Becky Ely. Angelidis getting it all wrong, getting a slide on there and nearly went into the grass. He hit the curb. You'll see it as these guys come through now. And unfortunately for George Angelidis there, that was nearly game over there, Paul. Curb, rain, wet curb, not a good mix when you're in a Ferrari.
Yeah, not a good mix either. Let's go back and just have a quick look at that, James.
Yeah, you can see they come through the fog of the Essex, and this is where he gets on the wider line. You can see there, look, he's just got nothing, and he's situated at the moment, isn't he, for Angelidis on them wet tyres. Ely went hunting for the rain. You see how she pulled into the wetter part of the circuit. She's more trying to find the rain now, Paul, trying to keep them tyres cool, because there is a predominant dry line starting to come through. Now, Suzuka is on the hards. He's doing 133. Dahlgren's on the softs doing 132. Ely's still in the 131, so maybe the softs and hards aren't quite working.
Yeah, maybe it's just as we watch Ross Smith there get a bit of a wiggle on. I think he's about to lose P1 to Matthew Overton, and Matthew makes the move stick. So as the track's drying out, maybe this is where Ross in the Marcos is gonna struggle a bit. Oh, they're off! They're off in the bottom right corner.
Ely and Angelidis making contact. Ely did manage to stay out in front. We'll see if we can have a look back and see what happened. Is this a replay of what we nearly saw on the last lap? Becky Ely there out in front at the moment. Through the fog of the S's we're going to be going, and I've got a funny feeling this is the kind of same thing. Is Ely going to go to the right? She does. Angelidis tries to bully her off it there as well. He's just going to go in too hot. He's not going to hit his brakes. Neither of them are. None of them made their braking points there, Paul.
No contact either. No contact either.
I know.
It's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, it was like a tandem incident with Becky Ely and George Angelidis there as well.
And while we're watching that, Ross Smith has got the lead back. But
over Matthew Overton.
Yeah, I don't quite know where that happens. I don't know if I can find it for a replay, unfortunately. But yeah, he managed to make the move again. So I don't quite know what happened. I'm not seeing an off track or anything like that. I am seeing a penalty for Oliver Day though on my screen, and I'm thinking that's for speed in the pit lane because he And then I'm seeing about 6 or 7 notifications for Kevin Torrance because for exiting the pits. I don't quite know what's happening there.
Maybe he was coming in and going out. Who knows?
Normally there's a pit in before you come out. So they're
Hey, look, we'll just take it as that. Maybe that, you know what I mean? Maybe we don't know.
But Suzuka is on the hard tyre, looking at what I've got, and Brian Hall's now also on the softs. Magnus Dahlgren on the softs, and so is Oliver Day. But Oliver Day has a penalty that needs to be served.
Right. Are the soft tyres benefiting though? Because it doesn't look like they're making massive inroads. Dahlgren's round about the 132s, but he's still off the pace with the likes of Angelidis and Ely. Of course, I
agree. So Daniel Kirby's just set the fastest lap of the race last time around. He's just got a little bit slower this time, but he set a 130.6 on the wet tyre. But I think we're close to the switch. I think we're look at the dry line now. It's much more prominent than it has been. So, and you can see it on some of these shots. Look at the right hand side of this part of the circuit. There is a dry line there. So I think it's And George has got past as well, so we've missed that unfortunately while we've been looking at other things. So George is up into P1.
George Angelina said did manage to get it through. Another squirrely moment from Becky Ely coming out of that Melbourne hairpin here as well. So there's Ross Smith.
GT2s are in.
That very bumpy pit lane.
Yes.
It's a very bizarre pit lane.
It is. Yes.
To be honest. Suvic's on the hards, Whitehead's on the hards, Ross Smith's going on to the hards as well. So Ross Smith onto the hards, and this is, I believe, the 89 of Magnus Dahlgren into the gravel. Okay, not dramatic, but not ideal.
Yes. So,
not ideal.
Still in the pits as well. Yeah, not ideal, but didn't lose too much time, I don't think. And again, Daniel Kirby's just set the fastest, his best lap of the race with a 1:30.1. So there's still some life in those wet tyres.
Absolutely. I think, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if a few of these. It'd be interesting to see what Dahlgren's going to be able to do full pace. He's just done a 1:32. He's predicted a 1:32, so slightly.
Last lap was a 1:33, wasn't it? So
yeah, still behind Kirby on a 1:30.
Yeah. As Ross has lost the lead in the pits.
Well, yeah,
and he's gone for the hards.
Peter Meyer, I believe that is, Matthew Overton, sorry, coming out in front of Smith. There was a 3-second gap, mind you, Paul, between the pit stops and the pit lane times. So, Overton 3 seconds quicker than Smith on the pit run. So that's probably where the time was lost there. Kirby's still out in front.
Up to pace now. He's in the 1:30s.
And he's the first man on the softs, isn't he?
No, sorry, 1:32. Apologies, I read the wrong column. Got a little bit carried away there.
The guy slower than the leader.
The guys on the wets are still, but then they might be more like slicks now. Do you know what I mean? Like we've seen it in real life racing. Eventually the tread does go. So maybe if you're comfortable on them, why do you need to pit? If you're able to put those laps in and you're seeing the guys on the softs are not yet within your kind of, once they start nearing the crossover and it gets to a second, you might then think, right, now's the time to pit. But we're not there yet.
No, we're not there yet.
I mean, John Ewan last time round 1:30.4. He's on the wet still. Brian Hall last time round did a 1:32 on the softs. Magnus Dahlgren did a 1:30.8. That's close. Did he? No, 1:30.92. Sorry. So that's closer, but that could be driver and car dependent as well, couldn't it? So
well, we're going to have a look at Ethan Funk. Funk has just gone onto the hards. I think that's going to be one of the major telltales of where they're going to be. Brian Hall's still in the 1:32s. He's still not quick. However, he is catching Angelidis and Ely. They're both in the 1:32s at the moment. Daniel Kirby still flying in the 1:30s. I can't really see Kirby.
Brian Hall just did a 1:29.
And he's on the softs.
Yes. Ooh. I think we might now be at that crossover point. So if I was Daniel Kirby, I'd probably think about coming in. The pits are still relatively wet. They're not going to have a lot of car traffic, are they, during the race? So to clear the spray. So the tyres, when they initially come out, are going to take a little while to come in.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's going to be an interesting one. We've got Barry Dimarzo in chat. Frustrated of being taken out of the race, but I'm here to cheer on teammate George, says Barry. So there we go for Barry Dimarzo, of course, having moments. And unfortunately is one of 5 DNFs with Risto Corpi, Barry Dimarzo, Felipe Enrique. Didn't really see a lot of Felipe Enrique, to be honest. He did 11 laps. Gilles Lalonde and Dave Coors. Actually, Enrique did 6 laps, so he did even less. But Brian Hall is the man on the softs here, as we've got a replay Is that Peter Meyer?
It is indeed. Turning into a normal, quite bumpy at that part as well.
Yeah, that's out of Old Hairpin, isn't it, at the moment? That's a funny old corner, is Old Hairpin, to be fair.
Yeah. You could argue that Donington's got a few funny ones, actually.
Oh yeah, but with the Old Hairpin, you've got to try and carry speed, keep the grip, and get up an hill.
Yes, yeah. No, indeed. It's if you can find that flow, it pays dividends round here. Really does.
But what is the flow? That's going to be the question, you know, because it's very... Are you going to be very interrupted because of the fact that obviously, you know, you've got cars going in the pitch, you've got ever-changing tyre conditions, you've got rain, you've got a decision about whether or not you go on to softs. Do you start going on to softs? You know, there's a lot here, so can you really get into a flow, you think?
Yeah, I think you can around here. I love Donington. I always have done since the Toka race days, you know, race driver days. Like, I've always been a fan of it because I think, to your point, it's kind of like pushing the boundaries a little bit and trying to keep that momentum, but also keeping it on the black stuff at the same time. But you could argue that's the same at every track, of course, but I think here it's just got an unusual characteristics, and it's got, you know, you go up one moment, you go down the next, and I think it's a really great racetrack. Even turn one, you know, like, it kind of makes you want to go fast, but actually it can also very easily, you get carried away and then you're on the outside of T1. You know, like,
you saw that.
I'm a big
we
fan.
saw it right at the beginning, didn't we?
Yeah. And it's a tricky corner, especially when your tyres are cold, T1. And as I can see, like, you know, when people are pitting, there is the pits are still wet, so we may see when people initially come out, they might run wide on talking to people running wide. I can see that we've had somebody run a little bit wide. Let's go and have a look.
Poor old Torrance, though. He's having a torrid time, is Torrance. Oh, Smith!
Oh, that was
Smith.
close. That was close.
Can we get a cockpit view of that, do we reckon?
I mean, I can do that.
Oh, let's see if we can see. There is Smith. Watch the car go in front. Just missed him there as well. So that was Matthew Overton. Maybe that's Ross not being able to see over that big old grate there as well. Oh, look. Poor old Smith just gets it all wrong, and he was doing so well, Paul, as well.
He was, yeah, having a solid race. But I think this is where the Viper kind of loses the advantage a little bit because it's drying up. I think the Viper in particular looks pretty good in the tricky conditions. I've noticed he's got his wiper on. I don't know if it's because he just wants his wiper on and he likes it, he doesn't know how to turn it off. But there's a couple other cars that have got wipers. Oh, I can see other cars with wipers on as well in the background there. So, yeah, maybe the rain is actually back as we look at Ethan Thug, who's currently in P5, because George at the moment's up to P2 overall.
That is going to kill Becky Ely's race. And I say this nicely because she's in the pits and is on the hard tyre. Now, whether or not she can change it and maybe refrain from that decision, I'm not going to lie, I've got a funny feeling. We've got 5% rain. There's another spinner there with Ethan Funk. It's on its way down now. Do not come out on them hard tyres, Becky Ely. Otherwise, you will be spinning like a pirouette. I've got a funny feeling if they want to change that decision, she should do, because I think she's going to be coming out into a rain-soaked circuit.
Yeah, I think it's. They were just getting comfortable with the conditions, and that might have explained why Ross went off, which we saw a moment ago. But yeah, the wipers are all on all of the cars now, so I can see that Oliver Day's in the pits at the moment. First one, I think, to enter to potentially change back to wets. We'll keep an eye on that, and we'll let you. And James will let you know. Oh, there's a car. I don't know who it is, but there's a car at the back. I think it might be Matthew Overton. I spotted a car that was in the background coming out of the final corner. I think it was Matthew. Yes.
Man, I tell you what, if I was Becky Ely, to not lose any more time, at the moment she was in was the moment they were raining, and this is what Overton got himself up to in that Viper there, round the final corner. It's all on his own. It's all on his own. There he goes. He snaps it back. Oh!
How close was that?
Mrs. Stephen Miller.
Oh!
Stop. Not an ideal rejoin there. This one was better. But the first one probably quite scary for him.
Yeah, that's a brown pants moment, isn't it? So, you know, like Daniel Kirby and George are laughing because
they
both stayed on the wets. They didn't come in to the pits. So George, you know, in the GT1 out class, is in P2 overall for the race.
George Angelina's doing a stellar job there as well. Kirby's starting to tiptoe a little bit, but he's still putting in the 129s here. Becky Ely. Oh, Ely's had a problem. 141. That is 10 seconds off Angelidis' pace. She is predicted a give or take 129, but how long's that going to last for, Paul, with the rain coming down?
Honestly, I don't know. We got her in the bottom right hand corner of your screen, so the car is twitchy. Let's see what Becky does, whether it sticks it out, and yeah, she's gonna stick it out. So let's keep a closer eye on this lap and see how she goes.
Well, she's done a faster time than Dan Kirby last time out, 129.344. Now I'm looking at that. I've got a funny feeling that's the fastest lap of the race for Becky Ely at the moment. No. Alex Garrick on the 128.
Ethan Funk's in the 128s as well, yeah. It's close though.
Yeah. Not quite at the moment, but we'll see how this one turns out. It's
you know the fastest laps in your top right of the live timing that I've given you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just checking.
Yeah, I didn't read that. You know that, right? I did quick maths and spotted a 129.3, and I was like, oh, and then realised it is actually.
But it's interesting when if you look to the left of that, it gives you the sector 1, the sector times as well. So, so that's interesting. It was where Alex is quickest in sector 2, and Magnus in sector 1, and Ethan in sector 3.
Ely struggling here. Just got a bit of a snap on coming out of Melbourne. Got to make that decision now. What is it we've got? We've got 5% rain at the moment. Still a dry line though, Paul. So she's still got a dry line to make the most of.
Yes.
But how much longer is that line going to become, well, like Ali Pali ice rink, I suppose?
Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of that's going to be determined by how hard it rains, of course. And as Matthew Overton again has a little bit of a moment, having a few of those, finding the conditions a little bit tricky, and how many cars are still out there and able to clear the rain that does come down, you know. So yeah, as you say, there is still currently a line, so as long as that remains, where the challenge comes is when you've got to try and get past another car.
Yeah, as well. The picture will be back shortly here, guys, as well.
What's happened there?
We are staring at a black screen, Mr. Glover.
I don't know
There
why
we
it
go.
does that, because it's on view. It's OBS just not showing it. I have to switch it off and switch it back off again.
Well,
That's
there you
weird.
go.
Yeah.
Very bizarre.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've still got 23 laps remaining. Right? We got 5% rain. We got a half field split between wet, softs, and hards. And at the moment, we're seeing kind of the wet still doing the times around the softs and hards.
Yeah, they're dominating, I think, at the moment, aren't they? They're saying, you know, the only car that's getting quicker than the race lead at the moment is Magnus Dahlgren.
Just.
And Becky as well.
Yeah. Both of them still in the 130.3s. Dan
Yeah.
Kirby last time out 130.8.
Oh.
So, but then again, look at the gap that Kirby's got over Hall. He's got 85 seconds, right? Let's be realistic here. It's only a 60-second pit stop. Oh, dearie me, what am I about to see? That's Takahashi, isn't it?
It is.
Oh, dear sir, dear sir. Now, I'm no race car driver, but I'm pretty sure that's not good when they're doing it.
Yeah.
All the way running up the hill. Yeah. Now, he was losing it earlier on, mind you, Garrick, and he was losing it earlier